Hello, this is Chad Warren, and welcome to RebelRenaissanceRadio.com. It is 7:47 a.m. Sunday, February 23rd, 2025. I hope you're doing well. Okay, so this video is triggered by me just asking a question to the brave AI Leo. And that question I asked is, show me an example of how magic was used in a beneficial way in Babylon according to historical record. So I'm going to read from that here in a bit. And then a lot of this has to do with fascination with my namesake, King Nebuchadnezzar II, or whatever. Yeah, I was learning. I was watching a video on YouTube, just going over what Nebuchadnezzar II was, and how that is so important to us today, because my personality is, kind of like this American experience where we're all mutts largely from wherever, and we all believe that we're better together than totally separate, but we also want to retain our different separations, our private property, our racial family alliances, or all these kind of things. And then mainly just the idea that I don't think it's possible to have a very full understanding of anything unless you compare and contrast both points of view. And I just wonder how I would assume that everything affects everything else, and so even if there wasn't very much thought put into why we were named what we were named, I think there's a tremendous importance in that. So even though I am not an expert at my namesake, Nebuchadnezzar, I think I can see clear similarities there. The main one being, I too am somebody that is just as challenging of the Christianity I grew up in as I am respectful of it. And it's my understanding that even though King Nebuchadnezzar was very fascist, very much a tyrant, even his own people, when he was busy focused on, I don't know, is he expanding his empire into Egypt? But while he was gone, his people followed his lead and started rebelling against him. So I think that there is some kind of common understanding of these type of king type of people and God, because both understand how hard it is to get people to do what you want them to do, even if you're their master. So, and the idea of the testing, the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego being put in Nebuchadnezzar's fiery furnace. And they proved themselves to be correct, that their God was able to keep them alive through that test because of their faith. So yeah, I think that just paradoxically we can do a lot of diplomatic type of work by being authentically, naturally challenging to the people that we love, and then likewise to be kind to people that we don't like. All right, and of course the whole thing here, as you see pictured in this story, was the fact that, I forget the leader of Judea at the time, but he was demanded to pay tribute to King Nebuchadnezzar II, but he didn't do that, and he appealed to his friends in Egypt to support him, and that was a mistake. And so, as you see pictured here, this represents this history of 25% of the Jewish people being relocated to become a part of Babylon. And then is that King Cyrus? I gotta get all that. King Cyrus, is he connected to Babylon? And then just how this modern Jewish identity is very much based on this, changing of their culture forever because of this relationship with Babylon, their neighbor. So, just kind of going over those ideas in history, I think we can see that however much we may wish to and need to separate ourselves from our neighbors, the fact is that we're going to rub off on each other whether we like it or not. So we should know other people in order to know ourselves and God better. But so let's go and look and see what Leo Braves AI had to say about my question of, are there examples where magic was used positively in Babylon? Okay. Magic in ancient Babylon was used in both positive and negative ways, but there are several instances where it was employed for beneficial purposes. For example, magic was used to protect individuals and communities from harm, to heal ailments, and to ensure success in various endeavors. Protection and healing. And a part of this is just me trying to figure out what kind of path I want to make in terms of developing a daily magical practice. So I thought I might look to my namesake for inspiration. Magic was often used to protect against malevolent spirits, ghosts, and human sorcerers. Here's a question. I just really struggle to find the difference between magic and the benefits of faith in Jesus, because I was listening to a podcast titled Nephilim Death Squad the other day, and one of the two hosts is a relatively new Christian sharing his exploration into the faith. And I can't remember the woman's name, but the guest, she neither of these people grew up Christian, right? So that makes sense that if people are discovering stuff more on their own, and certainly due to the influence of this chaotic time, their idea of what Christianity is much more, I would assume, focused on all of this Old Testament stuff, because the Bible talks about how everything that was will come back again, does it not? Somewhere in the prophecies of Revelations. And we see how much that end times theology is a part of popular culture and connected to the reasons for war today. But she said that, I think she was describing her story of being born as a child of rape. Okay, so then that connects with this word I've heard all my life, but I don't think I ever really knew what it meant, and it is iniquity. Okay, so just looking at that word, I see equal iniquity. So that just to me sounds like that it is logical, and it certainly does happen that life is not fair. You know, that everybody's born into the situation that we're in. And we can see that some people survive tragedy to become the best, and some go through the most loving experience to become serial killers and such. So who knows? But she was saying that the Bible instructs just as one is a sinner and that they must pray for forgiveness of their sins, that in a situation like that there is a process of some kind of prayer, I think she was mentioning, and to doing this on a regular basis that would be removing the generational curses. Okay, so that's just a fascinating idea to me. We could think of generational curses in terms of our genetics, but it's interesting too, because in my study of this point in history where Nebuchadnezzar destroys the second temple of Jerusalem, that let's see, what am I thinking? I kind of lost my place there. But was talking about iniquity and how that's logical, that life is not fair. I mean, maybe it is in the whole, but it's like poker. We're all dealt the hands that we're dealt, and it's about knowing how to play the cards that you're dealt, and so it's fair in that way. Similar to the idea in America of, what is the phrase? The pursuit of happiness is what we're guaranteed. We're not guaranteed outcomes, but we're guaranteed the right to have free will. Okay, so let's see. So yeah, that was the basic question there, is really what is the difference between magic and prayer and all this? Because it's just personally, all of this jealous God and the stories of the Bible that, that show that the Magi, paid respect to Jesus, that every knee bowed to that point of view. I just don't like that. That just seems obviously egotistical, human type of stuff that people are passing off as God. And somebody I know is always understandably critical of Gnosticism for people trying to be God, but I think there's a little dishonesty there in that whatever we may know of God is through the fallibility of our physical lens that we experience God through. That just as people tend to personify objects, like in Disney movies, for example, I think that we also make God in our image much more than we're able to make ourselves in His. So anyway, but I'll just go over the headings of other things that we could look into further. So protection and healing, medical practices, physicians known as Asu would use both medical remedies and magical rituals to treat ailments. Divination and advice. Diviners, or Baru, would interpret omens and signs to provide guidance and advice. Cultural and religious integration. Magic was deeply integrated into the religious and cultural practices of Babylon. Okay, the ritual care and worship of deities, including the use of their statues, were considered sacred. The gods were believed to live simultaneously in their statues and in the natural forces they embodied. And the protection and maintenance of these statues were crucial for maintaining divine favor. Okay, so let's look into this. So let's say you're Christian, you don't like paganism, right? Okay, but let's say you like Japan, right? And you go on a trip to Japan, okay? So now you go on a tour of Tokyo and you visit one of zillions of Buddhist shrines there, right? And let's say you're in a tour group of other Americans. You don't know each other. You just all happen to be there and want to take a tour. And one of the members of your party proceeds to etch their initials into one of the supporting timbers of such a statuary and shrine. The Japanese, as all pagans, take this stuff very seriously. And I'm hearing in the media that over, I don't know how many decades or how recent this phenomenon is, but evidently it's gotten really bad about Americans going over to Japan and acting like total jackasses and doing this fucking, pardon my French, YouTube influencer bullshit where they think that it's proper to do whatever it takes to get likes. And I just was like so outraged at that. You know, I remember taking a trip to London, Paris, and Rome in my senior year with my classmates, and I mean, I just am a weird person where I don't respect these authorities of government or religion, but I do believe that you should treat other people with respect, most especially because you disagree with them. So I just remember we were all charged with being on our best behavior as like literal diplomats of our nation when we went over to visit Japan, and it sickens me that people would do that. And I suggested what they ought to do is take those people, arrest them, and put them in some kind of humiliation Japanese game show, since they're so good with those, and that teasing of retarded behavior would do us all a lot of good to properly integrate that stuff. And I'm telling you that as somebody that hated to be teased as a child. My dad managed Valley Glass for a short time here in Hot Springs. He put a lot of the glass in the old Hot Springs Mall. But anyway, he, had a lot of roughneck working class folk there. And God, what was the guy's name? Larry? he'd always do, hey, what's that on your nose? And I'll go, what? And he'd hit me, teasing me. And so just look at that ancient relationship there. It's almost like the relationship between a king and a peasant, and the favor that the peasant is doing to the child of the king, the child of the manager of the glass shop, by teaching him not to be such a spoiled, oversensitive little bitch who gets butthurt when he gets fucked with, and also having a healthy amount of skepticism for anybody, most especially the people that you like and love the most. All right, that's enough of all of that, and I guess I will just close this out by showing you another way that I'm trying to pay respect to my namesake Nebuchadnezzar with his famed hanging gardens of Babylon that he allegedly created because his wife was from some forested area. And so that's all about the greening of the desert. And boy, I'm sure there'll be a lot of that if this Trump annexation of Gaza, the Greater Israel Development Scheme, as it goes. But just my little pitiful beginning of a garden are these seedlings. Let's take a look here. I've had these going I don't know how many weeks, and I really hadn't been paying attention to it all. And then I just planted these, so I thought I'd do this to help them germinate without light. And let me turn this around. Yeah. That's why I put it in the windowsill there today. Let's look a little closer at what I have in there. Okay. We've got mixed flowers. Put it up here. Parsley. Brandywine red tomato, a classic mix of mesclun greens, chives, microgreens. That's in the first row that was already sprouting, and then I also planted these today that are covered. Bok choy, basil, and sweet onion. And I have, let's see, some things that I have to do later, like bell peppers, tomatoes, and kale. And then I need to go pick up some new seeds and so make suggestions of what I should get. And then I'll tell you something else I was noticing and wanted to look into further, is this whole idea that you can collect seeds. I'm very interested in anything you can collect. I know they have seed vaults, so I need to look up. And I know they have seed exchanges. There was a whole awesome local PBS show about how some of these libraries have restarted doing this seed library thing. It's like a card catalog with the little drawers. Oh, and another thing I like to collect are postcards, and I'm learning about reselling these. So I just was thinking, can you collect seed packets like baseball cards? Anyway, have a good day.